This is another edition of Fantasy Huddle. I'm Randy Shaver along with Kevin Gorg. This show is presented by Aquarius Home Services and brought to you by Minnesota Masonic Charities, 10K Construction, and Lexus of Maplewood and Wayzata. All right, here we sit the week before Thanksgiving. We still have some bye week teams that are out there: Denver, Miami, the Chargers, and Washington this week. But it's an interesting week, I think, Kevin, in a lot of different ways. There's some teams that are like on the fringe here. And maybe more importantly than fantasy football, they need to win this week, regular, real football, to keep their hopes alive. I think the Vikings, you can put in that category this week in their game against Green Bay. Some things that caught your eye before we get started. What stands out to you this week?
Well, I'm with you. We're getting to some interesting pressure points in the season. Kansas City gets beat in Denver by my Broncos, and now they've got almost a must-win this week at home against Indy. You've got the injuries that are mounting up across the league, and specifically in Atlanta, where Drake London and Michael Penix Jr. are going to miss this week. You've got the spitting incident with Jamar Chase, which likely means he'll miss a game. You've already got guys like Sam Laporta on the IR. So they're dropping like flies. And if your roster is healthy right now, you have a huge advantage as you get to crunch time here before the fantasy playoffs.
We'll throw the Pittsburgh Steelers situation into that too. Rodgers, it looks like he's going to be okay and maybe will be allowed to play this week. Warren is still questionable, and Calvin Ridley broke his fibula, so he's done. But he really didn't do much for Tennessee this whole season anyway. So, just a reminder to everybody, we're going to have another keyword for you coming up in this show for a chance to win a pair of Vikings tickets for Christmas Day. So stay tuned for that. Let's get started, and we'll turn it over to Kevin to give us the Vikings and Green Bay. We'll start there. It's a noon game on Sunday.
Yeah, big game for both teams, but specifically for Minnesota, they're a 6.5-point underdog. The over-under is hovering around 41 or 41.5. I expect a defensive divisional struggle. On the Minnesota side, what do you do with J.J. McCarthy? Certainly in fantasy, he's not been very relevant, but with all the good quarterbacks that might be on bye that you've been using, might put you in a situation where you have to use them. You have to plug your nose against this very vaunted Green Bay defense. The running backs we've talked about a lot, Mason and Jones, are both really good all by themselves, but together they seem to cannibalize each other's production for fantasy purposes. You're going to start Justin Jefferson. It's been a work in progress with the rookie quarterback. He's not the guy that you probably drafted in the top 5 spots in your draft, but he's certainly a guy that can go off any given week. Addison and Hockenson are dart throws for me against this defense. I don't see a lot of points in this game. I don't see a lot of depth to the potential options on the Minnesota side. Green Bay, it all comes down to the health of Josh Jacobs, who is doubtful to play in this game. If you have him, go get Emmanuel Wilson, his backup, just in case. Wilson could get a really cool spot here if Jacobs can't go. Jordan Love hasn't been great, but you can start him, especially this week. I think they're going to win this game. I think Green Bay clearly has the edge on paper in this matchup. I don't know what to do with the receivers, though, Randy. Now that Tucker Kraft has gone down, you got Romeo Doubs.
I think Watson you can look at. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's not a real high ceiling there, but it's safe. I think Watson and maybe Doubs, if you're looking for a receiver to get you 4 or 5 catches, 60 yards, and maybe a touchdown. I've got Green Bay winning this football game in that neighborhood of 24-16. Not a great fantasy game, especially if you're on the Minnesota side.
I really like the Green Bay defense this week too. I think if they get up on them early and force the Vikings to have to throw the ball a lot in this game, I think Green Bay's defense will just tee off on the Vikings. But yeah, it's going to be a tough game for the Vikings. There's no doubt about it. All right, let's go to the Thursday night game. It's Buffalo at Houston. The number's 44.5. The Bills are a 3.5 to 4-point favorite. It's a short week for them getting ready. Josh Allen, my goodness. I said this last week that this game, this last week for them was like a pivotal point for them to prove that they're, after losing to Miami, where are they right now? And I think they proved themselves for sure. 3 touchdown passes, 3 rushing touchdowns for Allen, 42 fantasy points, an incredible prove-it moment for them. Now they get the Texans in a good defense in Houston and a desperate Texans team that sits 5-5 and really needs to win this football game. I think for Buffalo, really for me, just Josh Allen and James Cook. I just don't. I mean, Tyrell Shavers, Ty Johnson.
Who are these guys?
Yeah, I just don't. And Keon Coleman was a healthy scratch.
Ugh.
I don't even know where to turn with the receiving core. As long as Kincaid is not in the lineup, I just kind of going to stay away from that. So for me, it's just Allen, and definitely can play Allen naked in this game. He's going to be expensive on daily. There's just no doubt about it. But he's definitely playable. Cooks for sure, definitely playable. But that's really about it for me on the Buffalo side. On the Texans side, need to see if C.J. Stroud is going to be out of concussion protocol and can play. I think that's a big question. Certainly, Nico Collins is playable. And look, Woody Marks. Look, if Sean Tucker can score twice on the Bills,
Right.
then you got to figure Woody Marks has got a decent shot to do that too. So there's some pieces on the Texans side that you can play against this Buffalo defense. I think it's kind of a dart throw a little bit. Nico Collins is probably the only one that I feel comfortable playing against them. You could throw Higgins and Schultz in there, but I think you're kind of dart throwing a little bit. But Vegas is saying the Texans are going to score points in this game. So I think you have to look at some of those pieces. And yes, the total number's not high, probably not the best game on the slate, but I think there are some ways that you can maybe score some points in this game. But clearly, Josh Allen is the play, and clearly, I think after that, it's James Cook, and then you're kind of hoping for some things to happen on the other end of that. All right, let's move on. Pittsburgh and the Bears, huge game for both teams. Steelers are 6-4. The Bears are 7-3. They're leading the division.
Wow.
So you know the crowd's going to be super pumped up. It's Aaron Rodgers supposedly going to play in this game. So it's got a lot of interesting subplots to this game on Sunday.
Well, one of the biggest subplots, you make the point, is Aaron Rodgers coming back to Chicago. When he was in Green Bay, he was unbeatable in this building and basically
taunted
the Bears. That's what he said. Yeah, he taunted their fans.
Yes.
Well, with that wrist and with the Bears feeling good, this is a really game within the game story to follow. I don't know how much I trust Rodgers, because if you're going to play him in daily, the price might be right, but will he finish the game? Like when you have a wrist injury and you're taking hits throughout the game, I don't trust him. So I've got a major question mark at that position. Mike Tomlin today, as we record on Tuesday, said that Jaylen Warren is trending towards being able to play. I would keep an eye on that. Certainly, Gainwell would be a great option if he can't go, but Warren has been so good. So we'll see if he can actually make the start. You're going to start DK Metcalf, and then that's really it. I'm not touching those tight ends. You never know which one's going to go off. Calvin Austin, no thank you for me. So really, I'm focusing on Warren and DK, and I don't trust Rodgers with the wrist at all. The Bears, it's the big three for me. Caleb Williams, absolutely going to start against Pittsburgh. Swift the back, no doubt about it. And then Roma Dunze, his go-to receiver. Now, you can take a look at Loveland. You can take a look at Monangai as cheap options that are kind of waiting in the wings. I've got the Bears winning the game. The over-under is 45. So Vegas has a medium to high number here. The Bears are a 3-point favorite. Got the Bears winning a 27-20 game. So I think there'll be some points, but I shade towards the side of the Bears, especially knowing that Warren and Rodgers, even if they play, aren't going to be 100%.
We're still kind of waiting for a breakout game lately from a Bears receiver, because we keep talking about Odunze. We talk about DJ Moore. Luther Burden's getting some catches, but there's just no receiver that's having a breakout since I don't know what week it was that Odunze went nuts, week 3 maybe, or whatever it was. It'd be nice to see that happen this week, because there's no question the Bears they're feeling this thing, right?
For
They're
sure.
feeling like we've got, this is a different Bears team than what you've seen in the past. So kind of fun to see this happening in Chicago. All right, let's move on. New England, Cincinnati. The Patriots come in at 9-2 on the season. Bengals are basically cooked. The number's 50.5. 51. New England's a 5.5 favorite. I think that's kind of low, actually, when I look at that number. They're well rested after a Thursday night game. Drake May and Travion Henderson. I think those are the obvious plays. Drake May for sure. If you look at the Bengals defense, they do not do well against opposing quarterbacks. So it only makes sense that May is going to be the guy you want to go with and stack maybe Diggs, or this could be Hunter Henry week. I mean, the Bengals are terrible against tight ends. Could
Now
this
you're
be
talking.
the week? And of course, they're heading towards their bye in week 14. So they may be cranking it up here a little bit in New England. They may get Butte back. You have to keep an eye on that. But the Bengals defense is beleaguered. They are beat up. This is a great place to jump on the Patriots, I think. Maybe we're a week too late with Travion Henderson. Maybe be careful to jump on him thinking he might, get that 3 touchdown week. He's not Jonathan Taylor, folks. So, but it's the Bengals. And so there's definitely possibilities on the Patriots side to get some points. And Vegas is telling us that this is a game you want to circle. So I think that's definitely doable on the New England side. But you need the Bengals to play well. Otherwise, you're going to see New England run the ball second half and not throw the ball. So fingers crossed, maybe Flacco finds himself this week. Jamar Chase isn't going to play, or at least right now, suspended and likely won't play. What does that mean? Well, Chase Brown, I think, number one, I look at Chase Brown on the other side. He's getting the volume now that we were hoping he would get early in the season, both receiving and running. Higgins, I think, is playable, certainly, with Flacco. If you want to have a bring back somewhere, maybe you stack Drake May and Diggs and you bring back Higgins, there's a bunch of different combinations you can have in this game. And the number's high. So you've got to figure the Bengals are going to get some points here in this game, even though New England's defense is pretty good. It's just, where do you think that's going to come from? So figure that the New England defense is going to force the Bengals to throw the ball because they're going to be up. And so maybe it's looking at a Noah Fant, or it's looking at Higgins. Maybe it's one of those third receivers as a dart throw. Who knows? But I think Chase Brown, to me, on the opposite side of Drake May and maybe a receiver, is the best way to play this. But you've got to play something. This is a game to play.
Yes.
There are pieces here, and I think it's going to be one-sided for a while. Maybe second half, but maybe early on the Bengals will have some fight in them that will allow some fantasy pieces to do well in this game. But certainly I think Drake May is the best piece in this game. All right, let's go to Giants and Detroit. Giants are 2-9. The Lions are, wow, they're just trying to figure some things out. 6-4 heading into this noon game on Sunday.
Yeah, big game for Detroit. They are a double-digit favorite at around 11-point favorite. Another high total, Randy. It's 50 or 50.5, depending on where you look. So they're expecting points. And give the Giants some credit. They battled against Green Bay last week on their home field with Jameis Winston. Jackson Dart still in concussion protocol. Unknown whether he'll get the chance to come back and play this week. So it could be Winston again. What that means for the rest of the crew in New York, I don't know, but they're going to be in chase mode. I know that much. Tyrone Tracy, again, a running back that gets partial workloads. He can catch the football.
They both got some volume last week, though.
Yeah, they
both
did.
He and Singletary they carried the ball a lot last week.
So they're likely going to be in chase mode. They both can catch the football, so they're not terrible dart throws in daily. I don't think in season long you're looking to start either one of them. And then you got to look at Wan'Dale Robinson, who is the main focal point when the offense is clicking. Theo Johnson, a tight end that I think could be sneaky in the spot, knowing that it's an indoor game, it's a high over-under, and the Giants, whether it's Winston or Dart, are going to be throwing the football. We'll see. If Dart starts, then I love Jackson Dart as a quarterback that can really do some things naked if you don't want to pair him up with somebody on the big blue. For Detroit, you're going to fire up all the regular suspects. You know all about Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams has seen significant improvement in the last month since the head coach took over the play calling. Dan Campbell loves Jamison Williams. He was their highest scoring player on Monday Night Football in a game where they got blown out for the most part by the Eagles and didn't score a lot. He put up nearly 20 fantasy football points. Laporta's on IR. That's a significant loss. That just means more volume for the wide receivers. And Montgomery, again, not a guy in season long I'm going to use, but in daily, if you think they're going to be up big, he's had 2 big games this year, Randy. They were both in blowout wins for Detroit. You think they're going to win by 21 or more? Montgomery's going to get some looks, and he's going to get a touchdown. But that's how you have to handicap the game in daily fantasy. I've got the Lions winning this game 31-17, so I think they win comfortably. And I do think there are plenty of fantasy options I want to take a look at here.
All right, let's move on. Seattle at Tennessee. Of course, the Titans are sitting at 1-9. As long as Seattle and Sam Darnold doesn't have to face the Rams, I think he's very playable, and he certainly is in this game. The number's 42.5. The Seahawks are 12.5 point favorites. So Vegas is saying this is just a swamp. To be honest with you, what I really like in this game is Kenneth Walker to get a touchdown. I think there's a chance that their ground game has a nice game against the Titans, that maybe they'll score a touchdown pass early and then they'll just run the ball, because this is a get well game for the Seahawks after the tough loss to the Rams last week. So it's a get right moment for them. Could be a get right moment for Sam Darnold. I think you can certainly easily stack him with JSN. AJ Barner's not going to catch 10 passes this week. It's an outlier. Don't fall for it. He's a decent tight end, but he's not going to get that he's not Trey McBride. He's not going to get that kind of volume. So really on the passing side for Seattle, it's Darnold and it's JSN. But I think that the running game is sneaky in this game for both Kenneth Walker and maybe even Charbonnet too. I think that they're going to run the football in this game. I love their defense against Tennessee in this game. I know it's high priced on daily this week, but I think I think they're going to be pissed off. I think the Seahawks are going to know, look, we're right in the thick of this NFC deal, and we've got to rebound from what happened to us against the Rams, and Tennessee's the perfect team to rebound against for sure. So that's what I like. On the Titan side, nothing, zero, nada, not a thing. It's the easiest write-up for me this week. They're just terrible. They punt. They have nothing. Pollard, no. Spears, no.
Nope.
There's no receiver. There's really no quarterback. They're going to tee off on them this week. If you're playing Survivor, this is your Seattle week. Take them, because everything is pointing towards the Seahawks having a big week. All right, let's move on. Indianapolis and Kansas City. You mentioned it earlier. Wow. Chiefs are sitting 5-5. They're at home against one of the best teams right now in the AFC. They have got to win this football game.
And they're favored to do so. They are a 3 or 3.5 point favorite against this rested Indianapolis team who's coming off the bye. What a huge advantage. KC had that war that went down to the closing seconds in Denver. The total is 51 currently. So Vegas is expecting all kinds of offense. And the Indy side, I respect KC's defense. They're a top 5 NFL defense, but that's not going to slow my affection for Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor, or Tyler Warren. These are all studs at their position. You can argue that Jonathan Taylor's been the best player in all of fantasy football. I don't know if I see 3 touchdowns coming for Taylor, but he's certainly going to get in the end zone, and he's likely going to go over 100 yards. Warren, love him at tight end. Jones speaks for himself. Now, the receivers, there are 2 I'm going to look at in daily fantasy, and that's Pittman and Alec Pierce. They're both, I think, worthy of a start in a game where there's going to be points scored. It's a playoff preview type of game, so I like a lot of Colts. I like a lot of Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes should have a really good game here. You can score against Indy. They're a good team, but they will give you points. And then his go-to guy, Rashee Rice. If I'm going to use Mahomes, I'm going to tie him to his go-to guy. Had a down week, still had 8 targets last week, still caught 6 footballs, but didn't get in the end zone for the first time all year. That changes this week. He will score. Travis Kelce quietly having one of his better seasons, scored in Denver, still a go-to guy in the red zone, still a guy you can start. And keep an eye on Pacheco. They're hinting that they're going to try to get him back on the practice field as the week progresses. If he can't go, Kareem Hunt's still going to get you enough to make him a start in season long and maybe in daily cheap option. But the big guys, Mahomes, Rice, and Kelsey, should all be fed and can all be played in daily fantasy. In a game that I see KC winning in a tight one, something like 30-27. To me, it's the best game in real and fantasy football this week.
See, now I look at this game and I'm thinking this is the game that Kansas City has got to play at the Super Bowl level that they're used to. And I think they're going to game plan like crazy. And I don't think this is going to be a high scoring game. That's just
Really?
me. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game, and they're going to show the NFL that we are not dead, that you cannot count us out. I think this is that game for them right now.
So like a 27-10 type
yeah,
of thing.
I think
they shut them down.
This is just me, but I just, this is a Daniel Jones prove it moment too.
Yeah.
And how many teams have walked into Kansas City thinking they're going to knock around the Chiefs and they don't. It just feels that way to me. I could be wrong. I'll circle it. We'll come back to it next week.
Great take if you're right.
You could laugh at me if I'm wrong, but I just
I'm not going to laugh at you. It's a great take. Like I think
just feel like
wins.
this is that Chiefs game where they're just like, it's like the Monty Python movie. I'm not dead yet. Bring out your dead. Yeah, I'm not dead yet.
I'm still kicking. Yeah, Andy Reid's pretty good. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Masonic Charities. When you think about the Masons, I get it. You think about the funny hats, those pancake breakfasts, which are phenomenal. My dear friend John Schweitz and I have chatted about this, and it's so much more than that. They've got the Masonic home over in Bloomington. They've got the hospital for the children over at the U of M. They are the largest fraternal organization in terms of charitable needs in our country, and they deserve a ton of recognition. So thank you, Minnesota Masonic Charities, for all you do and for supporting us over here at Talk North, and a special thanks to my good friend, John Schweitz.
I'm used to the phrase old man, but when you add the word winter, well, then you're not talking about me. I'm here for Aquarius Home Services, and don't let old man winter freeze you out. Get a furnace tune-up for just $29 so you can keep him out and maybe invite me in. I like warm and cozy, and I know you do too. Schedule your $29 furnace tune-up today at AquariusHomeservices.com. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended. 10K Construction is your one stop for all your general contracting needs, whether interior, exterior, residential, commercial, or multifamily properties. They build relationships with their clients, and that's how they've grown their business through referrals. Plus, they are teaming up with LP SmartSide to become Minnesota's premier siding installer. And they're also partnering with IKO Shingles as well. They've got the best of the best to do the job right. 10K Construction covers both Minnesota and Wisconsin. Now, the rumor is they charge a little extra because it's Packer land. I'm not sure about that, but what I am sure about, 10K Construction is the company you want handling all of your general contracting needs. Go to 10kconstruction.com for details.
Hey, Rosie here for Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than my good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they have got you covered with two great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
All right, let's move on. Jets in Baltimore. This is the last noon game on the Sunday slate. 44.5 is the number. The Ravens are 14.5 favorites. I love the Jets plus the points of this game personally, but it's going to be a Ravens win. I don't really doubt that. I just don't think that they're going to pile up that many points on the Jets. The Jets are basically done. Honestly, we all know that. Fields is likely not. I think they've already said that Taylor's going to start and play this game. So There's just not a lot of things to like on the Jets side, but they've got some pride there in New York, and they haven't played terrible defense. They've played some close games. Brees Hall might have a decent ball game against the Ravens defense. Baltimore's only 5-5, so it's not like Baltimore's sitting there at 8-2. They have not played at lately. Yes, they've won 4 straight. They've played great. They get themselves back to 5-5, but I don't see this as a big swamp game. I actually like the under in this game and the Jets to cover. That's kind of how I look at this game. On the Ravens side, certainly Lamar. I think Derrick Henry's the best play in this game for me. He carried the ball 18 times, had 103 yards last week, 20 fantasy points. I really think Baltimore is like, okay, here we go. This is it. We're just going to pound you, get back to what we do best. And I think that's Derrick Henry having big games. And so to me, yes, I love Lamar. I think you can stack Lamar if you want with Flowers or Andrews. I'm not going to play Lamar in this game. Personally, I think there's other better quarterbacks on a daily basis that I'm going to play, even though the number says that he could have a pretty decent game. I think Derrick Henry to me is the best play in this game for me. And there's really not a lot for me in this game on the daily side that I'm interested in. But certainly Vegas is telling us it's going to be a wipeout. And Baltimore's the heavy favorite, and Baltimore should win. I like this as a 23-3 kind of game. That's what it looks like to me, or 23-13 or something like that. But obviously Baltimore is the team that you're going to want to stack if that's what you're looking at to do for daily, if you're going to use this game. Let's go to the 3:00 games.
Oh,
good luck with this one. Cleveland and Vegas. Both teams sitting at 2-8.
Oh, I don't know how this game is even watchable.
It's not.
It's terrible. 37.5 is the total. Vegas somehow is favored in this game. Why? I don't know.
Wow. Against the Cleveland defense. That's crazy.
I love the Cleveland defense in daily. So I'm going to start with that. They're, to me, the most interesting fantasy play on the board. And I respect the heck out of Brock Bowers. And I know Genty is looked upon as this great fantasy player, but I watched last night and it was ugly. And that was against a horrible Dallas defense. So I'll start by saying, outside of Quinshawn Judkins on the Cleveland side, I can't even sniff a player that I want to start. Shadir Sanders it's going to take some time. I don't know if it's ever going to be.
And actually,
him.
Kevin, maybe the Vegas defense is something to think about going
because
up against
of him.
Sanders.
Yeah. So Quinshawn's the only guy there. On the Vegas side, Geno Smith looks lost. And against this defense, I mean, he's a sack or a turnover waiting to happen. I don't even love Genty in the spot. I wouldn't even touch him at his price in daily. In season long, you probably got to start him. But I'm in a guillotine league where I might not start him. I'm not kidding. I might sit him. He was so bad against Dallas, and Cleveland is a way better defense. Brock Bowers is the one guy on the Raiders side I would consider playing in season long, but I would not use him because he's too expensive in daily. First team that can score 17 points in this game is going to win the game. It's that simple. These are two awful offensive teams, and I'm with you, Randy. Either one of those defenses in daily, I'm all for it, but the rest of it, I think you want to steer clear.
Boy, the Raiders really got hammered by the announcers last night in that game about the draft, the decision to draft Genty with the 6th pick overall. When you look at how bad they are on both sides of the line of scrimmage. So anyway, good call. Let's go to Jacksonville, Arizona. This is a 3:05 start. Of course, the Jags are sitting at 6-4. They desperately need to keep this momentum going. Arizona got pounded by the 49ers last week, but Jacoby Brissett completed 47 passes in that game, 47 of 57 for almost, almost 500 yards, 450, something like that. On the Jags side, the number's 47.5, and the Jags are 2.5 favorites. So Vegas is saying there's going to be points in this game, and I see it. I like ETN a lot in this game. I know they split carries between Tootin and ETN last week, but I think ETN to me is the one guy on the Jacksonville side that I trust. I don't like Trevor Lawrence. I'm not a Trevor Lawrence guy.
No,
I just don't think they throw the ball very well. But they're going to score some points, and I think they're going to do it on the ground. So ETN to me is the best play. You could, dart throw with Tootin too, if you want. I think the Jags defense is interesting in this game because they find a way to get the ball. They've recorded a lot of turnovers. Not so many lately, but certainly early in the season. But to me, ETN is the guy. He's still getting volume. They're going to run the ball pretty well against the Cardinals. I think it's going to be a fast track, all those kind of things. So that's what I like on that side. I do like Jacoby Brissett. I mean, I think you have to consider what he's done, and he's almost defense proof.
right.
He's been doing it against a bunch of different teams. And then you got Michael Wilson, who had 18 targets and 15 catches. And, it's funny, and I'm sure I'm like you. I'm watching some of the daily shows, fantasy shows on Sunday morning, and they're all talking about Michael Wilson and how cheap he is. And, it's kind of a trap a little bit, blah, 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 blah. I put Michael Wilson in a ton of my lineups, and I was like, good Lord, this is awesome. I mean, he racked up a ton of points in fantasy and helped me win money on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I know that everybody's going to gravitate towards him. I think it's still a good play because Harrison's not going to play. And they're going to be behind likely. They're going to throw the ball. They don't have a ground game anymore. I just think Michael Wilson's a very good play, and he's cheap this week again. His price went up $800 on FanDuel. So he's at $6,300 now after being at 55, which is crazy.
It's nuts.
And certainly Trey McBride. Good Lord. I mean, the guy's just,
he's the best tight end in football, right?
Yeah, he's unguardable. He's so good. Jacksonville, however, I'll put a caveat here. They only gave up 81 yards passing to Justin Herbert, right? Oof. So there's that. I like the Cardinals side. I like Brissett. I like stacking him with McBride. Maybe bring back ETN on the other side. That's how I look at this game in daily format. I'm not afraid to play Brissett. I love McBride, and I'll bring back ETN. There's some other little pieces in this game. Pick and choose. The number's high enough to play some, but to me, that's what I'm going to go with in this game this week. And I did pick up Brissett in a couple of different season-long leagues just to have, because I think if I have a quarterback that goes down, that's not a bad option to be playing to try to finish your season-long teams this year. Philadelphia at Dallas, 3:25 start. Cowboys coming off the Monday night win. The Eagles look great. This is going to be a good football game, I think.
Yeah, this should be a great game. Rivalry for sure. Philadelphia, 4-point favorite. The total to me, though, is a little high. 50.5 for a divisional game with a defense like Philadelphia and a team in Philadelphia, Randy, that doesn't hurry to the line of scrimmage. They don't get as many snaps off as other teams. They are methodical at best in the way they approach the offense. So I'm on the under here. This is the game that I think stays under the big number. And I just think Philadelphia's a better team. I think Dallas beats up on soft competition. And when they meet the big boys, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys seem to crumble. We'll see how it plays out.
I will say this, though, Kev. If you watch the Monday night game, that Quinnen Williams in the defensive line, and they got a linebacker back from IR, they played, I mean, it's still Vegas, but they played better, and there seems to be some optimism in Dallas that they can play better defensively. So I guess this will be a true test when they face the Eagles' offense.
Well, and if their defense plays better, and we know who the Eagles' defense is, they're a really good defense, then I think the under for folks that like to play those numbers recreationally, that's the play for me. I'll start with Hurts. He's going to get you, some running yards. He's likely going to push into the end zone. You see Barkley think he scores a touchdown. This week. Oh, right. He's in a great spot. Yes. And so Hurts, I'm all over him. I don't know. Saquon Barkley, man, things just are not right. They ran him into the ground last year. He has not been the same player. I don't care how you look at this.
Just
He
not
is
breaking
not
off long runs, right?
not at all. And last year that was his calling card.
Yeah.
So if you have him in season long or you drafted him, you probably have to start him. I respect that. In daily, for me, he's too expensive. Goddard's a solid tight end. AJ Brown and Devonta Smith are good receivers, but in fantasy, good doesn't get you money. So season long, start him. Playable against a Dallas team that can be susceptible to the pass, but not players I'm in love with. Hurts is the one guy on the Eagles side that I'm going to focus in on. On the Dallas side, again, Dak Prescott's going to be forced to make some plays. He had 4 touchdowns last night, so he's got some momentum. He's seeing things clearly. This will be his best test of the year, no doubt about it. Startable, yes. Daily fantasy, that's a tough call for me. Javonte Williams, their running back, he was good, not great against the Raiders. Did get 100 yards, which is awesome. Didn't find the end zone, didn't catch a lot of footballs out of the backfield, but I still think he's startable. And even in daily, he's a sneaky play because in chase mode, he'll have to catch 4 to 6 footballs, and that gets you a bunch of points at the running back position. Ferguson's a tight end. Don't even think about it. He's a start for sure. When Dak gets pressure, that's a guy underneath that he can throw to. CD Lamb and George Pickens are great receivers, unbelievable talents. This will be a good test. The Eagles secondary is legit. They just shut down the Detroit Lions, and I mean shut them down last weekend. So I would temper your expectations. I've got Philadelphia winning this football game 27-13. So I don't see this game even coming close to the total at 50.5.
Okay. All right. Last game at the 3:00 in the main slate is Atlanta at New Orleans. The number's 40.5. The Falcons are a 3-point favorite. Michael Penix is basically done. Yes, Kirk O'Chains is going to be in there at quarterback for Atlanta. Drake London, you'll have to kind of keep an eye on the injury report this week. He's got a knee injury. He may not play. Likely probably won't play.
Doubtful.
Bijan Robinson, I think, is the best play for the Falcons. It's not even close. 23 carries, 100 yards, 30 fantasy points last week. They're going to need a lot more of that. Tyler Algier is sneaky. He's been sneaky all year, so you can maybe look at that if you are desperate for a cheap running back. He's found the end zone 3 times in the last 2 weeks, so he's definitely somebody you have to keep an eye out for. But there's just not a lot to like in this game. And quite honestly, I really like the Saints defense in this game.
Oh, yeah.
If Kirk Cousins is starting over there, the Saints are coming off a bye. They have a lot of time to be ready for this game. They're at home. Atlanta's a miserable team. They just have struggled all year. I think that this is a game that the Saints defense could, score a touchdown and make some plays. Excuse me. So, Kamara is the only one on the Saints side that I like. There's not a lot there. The number's so low, and Vegas is telling us it's going to be a 20-17 kind of game. And to me, that's just not enough for daily to like anybody. And look, if you're relying on a New Orleans Saints player in your season long to help you win a game, and for that matter, a Falcon player, you're in bad shape. And so there's really not a lot to love in this football game. Let's go to the Sunday night game. It's Tampa Bay against the Rams in a monster matchup. The Rams are 8-2 and playing great football.
Yeah, this could be a real good game. Rams are a 6.5-point favorite. The total's 49.5. Vegas thinks there'll be some points scored in this game. If you're the Rams, you just got pushed around in your home football field. I know they won the game 21-19. Total yards, Seattle 479 to the Rams 239. So they were very fortunate to get those 4 Darnold interceptions to survive that game at home. We'll see if they can do the same thing against Tampa. But clearly, Seattle was able to move the football throughout that game against the Rams, which was newsworthy. Baker Mayfield, start him, love him. He can run, he can throw, he can do it all. I'm not touching their backfield. You mentioned Tucker scoring a couple touchdowns. Rashad White is in there, and now Bucky Irving, they're hinting he might practice. Too many cooks in that kitchen. For me, it comes back to Egbuka. Egbuka's a really nice receiver. He's had a couple of down weeks. I think he'll bounce back here. I do. I think this is a good spot for Emeka Egbuka to bounce back. Tez Johnson's a dart throw. He's a cheap option. He burned you last week, and he burned me last week in daily. And then Kate Otten is one of those tight ends that kind of low budget, cheap option. There's some upside there with Baker, but not a guy I'm going to start in season long. On the Rams side, I'm going to say it every time we talk about the Rams. I am focused on the big four, and I'm not getting distracted by any other shiny objects. I love Stafford. I love Kyron in the backfield. I love Puka. I love Devontae Adams, who's such a red zone target inside the 5-yard line. Nobody gets more targets than Devontae Adams. So the big four, Stafford, Kyron, Puka, and Adams. I see a great game coming here. I see plenty of points. I've got the Rams winning a great football game, 30-26. Fire up those fantasy options.
Yeah, I wish that game was on the main slate because
Me
there's
too.
a lot of very nice options, a lot of high priced options, but some very good ones in that as well. All right, last game on the slate is Carolina, San Francisco. It's Monday night, 7:15, 47.5. The Niners are about a 6.5 to 7-point favorite. Bryce Young is coming off a 448-yard passing game last week where he had 32 fantasy points. Tet McMillan had a monster game, his best of the season, a couple of touchdowns and 33 fantasy points. The 49ers just gave up a ton of yards to Brissett. So it makes sense that if you think the Panthers are going to go in there and play well, that they're going to throw the ball and do well, certainly you can play Rico Dowdle. He'll probably have some opportunities inside the 10-yard line, may not run the ball for over 75, 80 yards, but he may get a touchdown or two in this game. It feels like it could be a little bit of a shootout. This is not your grandpa's Carolina team. This is a better team than what we've seen in the past, and certainly offensively, and they're playing like it. So I think you could fire up some Panthers in this game. Certainly, I think if you were to stack Bryce Young and Tet would be, and I think it will kind of be overlooked. I think a lot of people that will bet this as a single game or fantasy play this as a single game will side more on the 49ers side just because there's more familiarity to them with Brock Purdy back, who actually played very well last week. So it's sneaky, I think, a little bit to stack a Panthers side and play back, a CMC or whatever,
right?
And hope for the shootout kind of a game. Certainly on the 49ers side, McCaffrey's just amazing. He's always going to be the play. He had 18 touches last week and he had 3 touchdowns. I mean, the guy's just going to do crazy things. And Brock Purdy has settled that team down. They looked a lot better offensively last week. Not that Mac Jones played terrible. He didn't. He kept them in this thing, sitting at 7-4, waiting for Purdy to come back. And I think they're off and running. Kittles and Jennings, Kittle for sure. You can play. You can stack him if you want with Purdy. That combination is really good. And Jennings, certainly playable. But man, the 49ers it's just a gobbledygook of receivers trying to figure out what that looks like week in and week out. They so much need Ayuk to come back and play for them down the stretch because that could be a deciding factor in how good they are. I think it's a fun game. I'm looking forward to it because I haven't seen a lot of Carolina this year, but they're sitting at 6-5. And the Monday night people have to be thrilled to have. They probably looked at this at the beginning of the year and said, this is a stinker. This is not going to be a great matchup. And now it's turned out to be one of their better matchups, I think.
I agree.
For the season. So that's the way I look at it. I think if you wanted to have some risk and play the Carolina side and bring it back with CMC, I think that's a pretty decent way to look at it. All right, let's move on to our keyword here. Again, excited to announce we're going to give away 2 Vikings tickets for the Christmas Day game to a lucky fantasy huddle winner. Each week we share a code word during this podcast. And to enter, simply fill out our Google form with your name, date, and that week's code word. You can submit a new form each week with a new code word for extra chances to win. And you can find that Google form in the description or on any of our social media pages. The lucky winner will be announced on December 10th. And so the code word for this week is?
It's bonanza, like a point scoring bonanza.
There it is. That is our code word for this week. Again, you can enter that in the Google form, and we wish you good luck. All right, let's move on to our PPR lineups for this week. I'll start. I love Jalen Hurts at quarterback. I just think that this is a great matchup this week. against the Cowboys. I love Derrick Henry. I've already pointed it out this week that I love Henry in that Baltimore game to be the player to play against the Jets. I think you got to play a Lions player. They're at home against the Giants. I'm going to go with Gibbs in that game as a player to keep an eye out for. I like Chris Olave this week for the Saints. I think they're going to tee up on Atlanta a little bit. He's sneaky, and he's been so good. He had like 11 catches prior to the bye week, and so he's having a really nice year when you look at who the quarterback has been and their circumstances. He's sneaky this week. I love JSN. I think that's a no-brainer play for me against Tennessee. You got to play somebody for the Seahawks in that game. McBride, clear cut. There just isn't another tight end I would even mess with this week. And I'm going to bring back as my flex Jonathan Taylor against Kansas City. Can he keep it going? I've already said I think this is going to be a tough game for the Colts, but I think Taylor is there's just no way to defend the guy. And it's going to be fun. To me, I agree. I think that's the most fun game of the week, to watch the Colts have to go into Kansas City and win against a desperate KC. There's just so many underlying stories in that game. So that's my PPR lineup: Hurts, Henry, Gibbs, Olave, JSN, McBride, and Taylor.
Yeah, I'll start my best PPR with a guy that is basically Superman. I have never seen a quarterback that does more with less. These receivers in Buffalo are trash. I mean it. They're not even starters on most teams in the league. He has not one stud receiver, and yet Josh Allen just put up 6 touchdowns. He is Superman. That defense stinks. They have no receivers, and yet he makes them relevant every year. Bar none, my best PPR quarterback is Josh Allen. I'll go back to Jonathan Taylor. I've talked about him a lot. He is a guy that has scored multiple touchdowns on 5 different occasions. He's done it week in and week out. Big test on the road at Kansas City. They're going to game plan to stop him. We'll see how that plays out. I love Rico Dowdle. You talked about it in your game analysis. I think Rico Dowdle is one of those young backs that's hungry, that's trying to make a name for himself. I think he could have a big week in chase mode. He can catch the ball. He can score in the red zone. I love Rico Dowdle. My receivers are Devontae Adams and Nico Collins. They are really, really fun to watch. Nico Collins with the backup Mills, double-digit targets in both Mills starts. And I've talked about Adams a lot in the red zone. He's a machine. Yep. McBride is the best tight end in football. I don't need to go deep into that. You talked about him. And my flex is McCaffrey. He is a cheat code. He does it every week.
All right, let's move on to our daily fantasy lineups, and we're using FanDuel pricing this week. And I'll start. My quarterback is Drake May. The Patriots, of course, are going up against the Bengals this week. It's the best quarterback matchup of the week. So Drake May at 8,400. I'm a little bit middling for my running backs. Chase Brown is my bring back game player in that game because I'm stacking May and Stephon Diggs. I know, dangerous. I get it. But you got to stack him with somebody. So I'm going to go with Diggs at 6,700, and Chase Brown is at 6,900. I love the Seattle game. I already talked about this. Kenneth Walker is my other running back. He's 7,200 this week. I think he's going to get a touchdown. He may get 2 in this game against Tennessee. My receivers are Michael Wilson. I'm going to go there, 6,300. Arizona's going to throw the football in that game against Jacksonville. And I'm going to go with Rashid Shaheed in this game. Yep. I know. What are you doing? 5,800. They're figuring some things out with him. And I think he's going to see more targets. So I'm going to go with Shaheed. My tight end is McBride. I love him this week. He's really expensive at 8,500, but I think he's so worth it. I got 2 players from Arizona in that game against Jacksonville. Travis Etienne is my bring back as a flex in that game. He's at 7,000. And my defense, I've said it, I'm sticking with it. The New Orleans Saints are going to pound Kirk O'Chains this week at 3,200. So my daily lineup is Drake May, Chase Brown, Kenneth Walker, Diggs, Wilson, Shaheed, McBride, Etienne, and New Orleans. Yes, I am looking for big games from middling players this week because I'm hoping that a lot of people will go with the big names and they won't produce as much, and maybe I can sneak in with some success with this kind of lineup. All right, Kev.
I love your McBride take. I wish I could have snuck him in. I think he's going to have a big game. I do. Well, it's a get right week. And who would you want to be playing when you're trying to get right but Tennessee? So I think there's points all over the football field for Seattle. They're going to be around a 14-point favorite on the road, which is just crazy to me. But it's 7,400. There's Sam Darnold, a guy they need to get right down the stretch. If they're going to go where they need to go this year, Sam Darnold's my guy this week. I've got him on 3 touchdowns. I think he gets the job done at Tennessee. I'm going to link him up with JSN.
Yep.
That's the go-to guy. He produces every week. He's my expensive guy at 9,800. And I'm going to go there. I'm going to link those two up, which means I have to really be creative at running back. And I think ETN's a great value at $7,000 against an Arizona team that has struggled against that position all year. So I'm going to use ETN just like you. And I'm going to use Wilson of Green Bay. And I'm going to keep an eye on Jacobs' status. If Jacobs goes in, I'll have to swap him out. But at 6,500, a guy that can catch the football and a guy that's going to get some looks in the red zone.
Well, he's going to get volume if Jacobs can't play. There's no doubt about it.
So I like Wilson a lot at that price. My other receivers, like you, right back to Michael Wilson. I think he is a great value, even at the bumped up price after last week of 6,300. And Wan'Dale Robinson. I love Wan'Dale this week at Detroit in a game where the Giants have to throw the football. If it's Winston, I'm totally fine with that. Give me Wan'Dale. I think I've got him on a touchdown this week. I think I've got him on 6 to 8 targets. So I'm going to take a swing. Tight end is Hunter Henry. I'm going to follow the rules. Yep. Cincinnati is a team that just can't help themselves.
Yeah.
They make tight ends glory hounds every week. And at 5,300, that's a value I can get behind. My flex guy, I only had 7,100 to spend there in the flex position. Jamison Williams on the flip side for Detroit against the Giants with no Laporta. I think he's going to get some extra love.
Yep.
And his last 3 weeks, 17.7, 23.9, 19.6. He's on fire right now. He's hot. And my defense, and I left $300 on the table, I'm going with my Cleveland Browns to rattle the cage of the Raiders, who couldn't get it done against Dallas, and now they're facing one of the best defenses in football. So there you go. Darnold hooked up with JSN, Michael Wilson and Wan'Dale, ETN and Wilson, the Packer running back, Hunter Henry, Jamison Williams, and my Cleveland Browns.
All right. Very good. All right. Thanks very much, Kevin. Appreciate it. We will be back next week with another edition of Fantasy Huddle. Our thanks to Aquarius Home Services, to Minnesota Masonic Charities, 10K Construction, and Lexus of Maplewood and Wayzata. Good luck this week. And don't forget the code word again is
Bonanza.
Bonanza. We'll see you next week.